We have Eddie going to the recruiting route here with, of course, the number one player in all of college football or high school football, Jackson Cantwell out of Missouri. And I'm not familiar with Kenny Pepe.
Mm-hmm. He's the other 5-star that I keep talking about from IMG Academy.
Yes.
And everything. Yeah. No, I have been otherwise focused. Sorry, I didn't want it to make it seem like I was lagging there. I was thinking. Was just talking with my family and a couple friends. Had a couple of things that popped up this week where they kind of needed some emotional support and whatnot. So like I haven't been super duper chasing down conversation or information about these guys in recruiting. I've thought of it, but like I've been otherwise occupied. I do know that we are 2 weeks away from Jackson Cantwell's new updated commitment date on May the 13th. Still scheduled to take an official visit to Miami over El Cinco de Mayo, but need to confirm that or see if that's actually going to happen, because I know that was previously scheduled and everything. And I know like we've gotten these other updates that there will be an unofficial to Georgia, that he's taken the official last weekend to Oregon. But there hasn't been anything specific that I've heard or seen about Cantwell taking the visit to Miami this upcoming week. So yeah, we'll see. Obviously, Miami is going to continue to push there. I know that there's a lot of the Oregon people have done a 180 about face, where 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago they said it's going to be Miami. Like Miami's Secretariat. They're like way out in front, and everybody else is chasing for second. I don't know if they're high on their own supply or if things have dramatically shifted, but I've seen and heard some Oregon people being very confident there recently with Jackson Cantwell. But we will see. And then there's always the narrative thing of like at his track meet last week before he went to Oregon, Jackson Cantwell was wearing Miami gear. Which again, kids choose their clothes. So like, you usually don't wear something just to wear it, but but of course, but even if he did just say, what, yoink, and that was the one that just happened to be there under his fingers when he pulled it from the pile of t-shirts. I know that everybody, and I brought it up because, like, yeah, we always kind of do look at those things and see, okay, are they wearing the gloves on Friday night their game? Is he wearing the stuff when he? So, we'll see. But yeah, I don't have anything specific to add to that, Eddie. But I, in general, will say I know Miami is pushing for both of those players, Jackson Cantwell and Kenny Pepe, as hard as possible, and we will see how things go. I think the other kind of looping in the NFL draft, something that can be helpful is Cam Ward at one of his early pressers said one of the main areas of growth in his game this past year was learning and refining protections in studying with Alex Mirabal, the offensive line coach. And we've seen offensive linemen get developed time over time and go to the league by, these guys, Mirabal and Cristobal. I mentioned Penei Sewell a lot because I'm a Lions fan and he's the highest paid offensive lineman in history. And he was recruited and coached by these guys. On stateoftheu.com, I wrote the early look at the 2026 NFL draft. And you have not only, all 5 starting linemen projected could be drafted next year, and I think, Francis Mauigoa in every early mock is a top 5, if not top 10 pick. He has the same kind of profile as a Penei Sewell. Look, you get recruited, you're a high level, you step in, you play, you go to the league. Markel Bell, I guarantee, and I know that people are like, Cam, he's only played here for a year. 6'9", 345, don't grow on trees, guys. And I said it after the Miami Pro Day that I was watching during the interviews in the foreground, and in the background, like this door, this window behind me, I saw many executive and a coach and an evaluator going up and saying, "Who is this?" And there was such a gravitational pull of all of these NFL people to Markel Bell, because you don't see size like that often. And I think that, lesser players of that same stature have been drafted very highly before. Then you get James Brockermeyer, who started at Alabama and TCU. He's coming over here for another year. That's a guy who can get drafted. Anez Cooper, I think he, is probably I counted, there were 7 offensive guards who were drafted in the top 3 rounds this past year. Anez Cooper profiles as well as, if not better than, all of those guys. So now you're looking at another guy who's a top 3 round guy. He's right there, and he's played next to Maui Noah the entire time. And then Matthew McCoy, who's grown leaps and bounds. I think he might be a guy who would be, who would benefit by not only the 25 season, but the 26 season in college. But if not, all 5 of those guys can get drafted. But I say that to say, when you look at what's been put in the draft, what's going to the draft very soon from Miami along the offensive line, the players in the past from the time at Alabama and Oregon that Mirabal and Cristobal have coached, right? And the number 1 overall pick saying, I got better at my throwing the ball position by working with the blocking the ball coach to understand blocking the ball better. And if Jackson Cantwell has stated, and he has, one of the main things I'm looking at is growth and development from the coaches, what they have done over time. So not only are our offensive line coaches and head coach, who's an offensive lineman and offensive line coach, great at recruiting and developing and deploying offensive linemen, they're so good at that, they made the quarterback into the number 1 overall pick. That could be helpful. So I say all that to say that, we are firmly in the fight. We're going to see what happens on May the 13th. Hopefully it goes the way of the good guys. But, even if, between now and then, there's still 2 weeks. That's a long time, everybody. So, strap in. We'll see what happens.